Science that claims it can teach you to influence and control others. Your Money or Your Life, a program that gives you tips on how to live a better life. And now your host, Channel 11 troubleshooter Asa Aarons.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Money or Your Life, a show where we talk about your money and how to spend it wisely, and your life, how to live a longer and happier one. First up tonight, a very controversial subject. You may, in fact, want to have the small children leave the room. Some call it subversive rock, slasher rock. I call it gutter music, personally. Songs on the outer fringe of rock that glorify a subculture of violence, hatred, rape, and perversion. Now, I'm not talking about music you might hear on a local radio station, or we're not talking about playing songs backwards for hidden messages. This material is blatantly offensive and will shock you, even if you grew up listening to rock and roll. When a teenager takes his life after listening to a song called Suicide Solution, the question of cause and effect is unavoidable.
Wine is fine, but whiskey is worth Suicide is nowhere
Rock music has always set out to shock and offend, but within its darkest recesses, a new ugliness has risen. Mutilation, violence, racism, rape, and murder. They're all lurking in the shadowy world of today's music.
Walk to the front, your fist to the range. Get out of the way, don't be kicked in the face. Boxing your brains, boxing your head. Boxing and pounding until you are dead.
The line between evil fantasy and stark reality is fading. In March, a 14-year-old Boston boy was convicted of luring a classmate into these woods and clubbing him to death with a ball bat. Why? To find out how it would feel to kill someone. A real-life incident that at least suggests the sickening images in this song, Kill for Pleasure by Blood Feast. Closer to home, a 14-year-old Brighton Heights boy butchered his 3 elderly neighbors. What made him decide it was their time to die?
Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4!
Rape, graphic violence, hatred. The songs portray our culture as sick and perverse. Is this new music the cause or the effect? A reflection of existing violence or planting its seed? Rebellion and rock have walked hand in hand since the days of Elvis. Some might dismiss this trend as harmless adolescent expression. But when the message turns from rebellion to rape, from teenage mayhem to murder, how far is too far? And by the way, that was a very edited version. We left out some of the more delightful songs. There was a beautiful love ballad about a guy who comes home every night and beats the hell out of his wife. Well, tonight we want to find out what effect, if any, this type of music has on young, impressionable minds. And we're joined by many people here in the studio on all sides of the subject. Dr. Stephen Hesky, psychologist, joins us, and Scott Mervis, music critic, joins us. And Scott, you and I have debated this publicly in your newspaper. You know I have problems with this type of music. You don't, or can you tell us at least your feelings about it?
Well, first of all, I think it's ironic that parents have always said that you can't hear the lyrics to this stuff anyway, and all of a sudden they're saying, well, listen to these lyrics. Do you agree with the lyrics? I mean, how do you feel about a 14-year-old listening to Speak English or Die? That's blatant racism. Well, I think to a certain extent it is distasteful, but, you know, in a society like ours where there's freedom of speech, we have to deal with some things that are distasteful.
Do you agree that a kid cannot go into an adult bookstore downtown and pick up a Hustler magazine that same 14-year-old could walk into a record store and pick up Speak English or Die or Blood Feast or something like that. I mean, where does freedom of speech go at that point?
Well, hopefully that their parents are sort of monitoring in some way what they're listening to. You know, I would think that a good parent would take the time to try to listen to what the child is hearing.
Okay, but we have laws banning pornography for kids.
Right.
Okay. Why not some laws banning this type of thing? I mean, you can't tell me that that's healthy for a kid to listen to.
Because once you begin to do that with music, then where do you stop with it? A lot of these groups, what you see here, you're printing the lyrics on the screen, but it's very possible that the group itself is not condoning this. They're maybe playing a role, just like a character in a slasher movie is playing a role, and those are very open to teenagers.
Okay, we'll get back to that in a minute. Doctor, your opinion on this. What effect will it have on a 14-year-old listening to Kill for Pleasure?
Well, I think if the 14-year-old is already disturbed and is perhaps taking drugs, there is a chance that this kind of music could incite violence. It is portraying a violent, despairing attitude towards life, and the teenagers who are already despairing are very much at risk. And this music, I think, is part of it. Something like a tenfold increase in suicide has occurred in the last 15 years among teenagers. And I think this music expresses a problem that is deeply ingrained now in our culture.
Okay, good. George Grant, you play not necessarily this kind of music, but you play heavy metal rock. There is a distinction between what we're talking about here with violence, right?
Music very similar to this, but I believe a lot of the lyrics, people mistake them. A lot of them are about socially conscious issues such as nuclear war. A lot of them are distasteful, but a lot of them are tasteful. There's a lot of bands that are saying a lot of positive things like Don't Drive Drunk, particularly Black Flag, other types of bands, and a lot of punk bands, which are also lumped into the metal category somewhat. They're all saying a lot of positive things. There are some negative things, but a lot of it's positive.
Okay, so to make a point, we're not talking about all metal groups. We're just talking about certain ones.
We're not even really... We're talking about the genre, I would imagine, on the show, and I kind of think that everybody's being lumped together, and there are differences.
Okay. If you had a 14-year-old brother, would you want him to listen to Kill for Pleasure?
I personally happen to like that band. I think, you know, they're lyrically, they don't really do anything for me, but I love their music. I like that fast type of style of music, and I think that's basically what the kids are in it for, that type of style and sound and speed in their music.
Okay, and here's your partner, and you're in the band also. You play metal music.
Yeah, we're not in the same band.
Okay, all right, but you play this type of music.
Right.
What are the kids looking for when they're drawn to these type of lyrics? What is this saying to us?
I mean, like you said, not a lot of it is all bad. Where the fact where, you know, they're playing a role model. You know, I mean, a lot of the kids just looking for the speed, the aggression of the music, you know, the tempo change, the beat. That's basically what it is.
Have you ever been to a battered woman's center and seen some woman who's been thrown down the steps because her husband didn't like the way she cooked the pork chops, or maybe seen some kid who's hung himself in the closet? I'm a news reporter, and I've seen some of these things, and then when I see them reflected in the music, I think, why would they be doing this? Why would they be almost promoting, kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself? Are the kids taking this seriously?
No, I don't think so. You see it every day on the news, and do you take it that seriously? I mean, it's a fact of life.
Yes, but when it's on the news, we're reporting an actual event. We're not promoting, go out and rape, go out and kill yourself.
I don't think that necessarily applies to the majority of the children. I think it applies to a certain amount of children who already have problems. I think if a kid, you say some of the music promotes racism, I think if a kid grows up with that type of thing in his household, it's only reflected in the music. Otherwise, a kid who has never experienced that type of thing from his parents or his background would never give that type of thing a second look.
Okay, good. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Spring is a time of change, and at Valley Motors in New Kensington, you'll find a selection of pre-owned vehicles that will make trading exciting. Many vehicles that were locally owned and maintained right here at Valley Motors. And that includes a selection of vans and wagons starting as low as $19.95. If you'd like to finance your pre-owned car or truck, Valley Motors will help you keep your monthly payment as low as possible. So for savings and selection on great pre-owned vehicles, hurry to Valley Motors, 100 Greensburg Road, New Kensington.
Weight Watchers' new 1988 Quick Success program is helping people lighten up. In fact, quicker than before, thanks to an all-new program that makes losing weight healthier and 20% faster. So join today, and in no time, we'll help get things off the ground.
With Weight Watchers' new Quick Success program, you'll lighten up 20% faster. And you can join now for only $12. Call Weight Watchers.
R.J. Reynolds. Number 14, Jim Whalen.
The baseball season is underway. A better...
For classic coverage of the Pirates home opener, watch Channel 11 News First Edition tomorrow at 5:30.
Okay, we're back and we're discussing violence, rape, suicide being promoted in some of today's popular music. And Doctor, I'd like to ask you, is there an empirical link? Can we find a link between a kid who commits suicide after listening to a song called Suicide Solution?
Well, if you look at the music and you look at what it is validating and what it is recommending, I think that the empirical link is immediately there in your perception of it. There's a certain hostility and despair, and I think behind that a tremendous amount of pain that is being expressed in this music, and the empirical evidence is in the music itself, I believe, and that it represents a aspect of our culture, problems in our families. Okay. I think the gentleman who was talking about the music as a positive expression is right, even in this despairing, negative, hostile message. There is also, to me at least, a cry for help and a rejection of the family.
Let me ask you, your fans, are they crying out for help? The pain involved in this, are they looking to feel something? What I'm asking basically is why? Why listen to this kind of stuff?
Well, most of the kids I know that come out to see my band play, they like the sound of the music. They like to identify with a group of kids that identifies with the same things they're thinking about. They like the speed of the music. They like the aggression. I deal with kids every day. I work in a record store. I see them. I deal with them every day. I know what a lot of kids are like. I mean, I don't know how much experience. I wouldn't like to question the psychiatrist.
Driving rhythms, yeah, they've always been attractive to you. But why the lyrics? Why suicide? Why rape? Why beat your wife up?
I think it's more or less just a sign of the times. I mean, it's like The Equalizer or Miami Vice. You know, if you were to say that a record would promote violence, you would have to say that Tour of Duty or Miami Vice also promotes violence in the same manner. But it's not really given as much publicity at this point in time, I don't think.
Okay. I want to get over to Greg Eide, who's joined us. And Greg, you run the record store downtown. You sell at least some of this type of material. What kind of kids come in and buy it?
People just like George and Ted. People who are in bands, a lot of young kids. I would have to say it's probably the predominant form of music that most high school kids listen to. Yeah.
The point I made a little bit earlier about a kid cannot walk into a store and buy a Hustler magazine, and yet a 14-year-old can walk in and buy an album about rape or slashing or blood feasting or whatever. Do you see any conflict there?
Personally, yes, but I'm not interested in censoring it or anything.
Well, you sell it. So.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, but don't you have any problems with them being able to buy it? I mean, would you agree with at least an age limit, perhaps?
Whether or not the whole thing, is this music reflecting life? Is this art reflecting life or life reflecting art? Which is it?
Okay. Want to throw that question out to the audience. What do you think? You've seen some of this stuff.
On television, that's all I've seen it. I personally don't care for it at all.
Okay. You, sir?
Yeah, I think that for myself, I think the music, it reinforces things that people are already thinking. It can be dangerous for somebody who was troubled, and I kind of wondered, you know, why people would want to sing about rape, Satan, murder, suicide.
I keep wondering about the same thing. Okay. All righty. Scott, to wrap it up, would you go for an age limit on this?
An age
18
limit
or
on
over, an age limit on this kind of music, just like we have with pornography?
Absolutely not, no.
No.
First of all, I think that what we saw here is not the mainstream even of heavy metal music. This is definitely on the fringe.
We could go on with this for a long time. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I'd like to thank really everybody who joined us tonight and all the different points of view. Stay with us. We'll be right back.